Hi, and welcome to the Renewable Roundup podcast from Schneider Electric. I'm Russell Redding, Head of Energy Markets at Zeigo. I'd love you to think of this podcast as your global pulse check on renewables. I'll bring you top stories, expert voices, critical climate topics, and all the insights we all need to keep the energy transition moving. Please hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss a thing. This week, Drew Lewis is joining me live and direct, as they say, from Nashville, where he's been at the Perspectives event. I'm excited to talk to him and find out exactly what he heard and who he talked to. And knowing Drew, I'll probably get a couple of other surprises. Let's go. Hey Drew, how are you today?
Oh man, good. Yeah, nice long weekend after a good week at Perspectives last week.
Excellent. I'm pleased you've joined me this week because I actually wanted to ask you about the Perspectives Day. So before, first of all, it was in Nashville this year. Am I right?
Yeah, hey, maybe we take a step back. You called it Perspectives Day, but it's actually a few days at Perspectives in the US. But yes, it was in Nashville.
Right. Well, I got excited just because it was in Nashville, and I was like, wow, that's like, a certain type of music. That's kind of like the center of the universe. But before I get on down that road, do you want to just tell me what the days are about, and so that listeners can kind of get a sense of what goes on there?
Yeah, well, every year Schneider hosts an event called Perspectives Impact. And it's about bringing folks together to understand what's happening in the market around sustainability and renewables. There's a lot of conversation about target setting, like SBTi, for instance, or target achieving, or what's happening in response to different, changes in the market dynamics. And Schneider has these in multiple places around the world. And so, therefore, the conversation sort of changes and shifts to be more regionally focused. So, the one last week was in Nashville, Tennessee on Wednesday and Thursday, and then maybe a little bit Friday morning. And brought together, I think the final numbers, I don't know these exact, but somewhere around 125, 130 people, with most of those going to be sort of corporate companies and then a mix of solution providers that are bringing renewable energy and other solutions like that to the market to help these corporate companies hit their stated targets.
That's really exciting. So, obviously a big room of people, and I've been sort of following it remotely. Obviously, it wasn't there, and there seemed to be quite a lot of stuff that they were covering or talking about covering, should we say, over the two main days. Obviously AI and smarter energy strategy and how that helps kind of in the current climate reacting to the disruption. There was stuff about the GHG updates around scope 2 and SBTi and what that's doing with corporates and various other bits. If it's not a leading question, Drew, is there anything that you would have said from your 2 days seemed like a kind of big theme or a big thing that people were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, you totally nailed most of it. I don't think people would take a breath without saying AI these days. And that's AI from the perspective of, hey, this could be a helpful tool. And there really are some great solutions around AI that help companies do things smarter and better and more efficiently. And so, yeah, lots around AI from that perspective. And then also lots around AI from the perspective of there are big companies out there that are building a bunch of data centers. And what's that going to do to the market? And what's that going to do to energy costs? What's that going to do to access to power purchase agreements, PPAs? What's that going to do to a whole host of things? So, yeah, AI was very central to the conversations. Some very optimistic, and some, hey, what do we do about this type questions? Um, yeah, and I think another part that is tied into AI is the stuff you talked about around the GHG proposed changes. because a number of the proposed changes seem to tie into how data centers would engage with that market, with the energy market, around 24/7 matching, and that's some of what we're trying to figure out on the GHG changes of how strict and how uh, sort of like minute is the sort of windows of matching that they're going to be putting forward. So lots of conversations about market dynamics tied to GHG and SBTi. And then one thing you didn't say explicitly that I think is also going to continue to be a big focus is scope 3. Um, just in general, because it's so big, it's probably for the vast majority of companies the biggest part of their emissions. And then also, I think for the vast majority of companies, it is the most complex part of their emissions. So, what are we doing about that? But to tie it back actually to AI, there's a lot around scope 3 that is easier to manage now with AI. It's easier to collect and ingest data, not just from yourself, but from your suppliers and your supply chain. What can you do with that intelligently and quickly? So, scope 3 is still big and still problematic and difficult. And yet, there's a lot of solutions coming out that are going to make that more addressable in the coming months and years.
I think that's really interesting because it ties back to something I've kind of always thought and maybe seen in dare I say years of changes that have gone on in the industry.
Oh, you dare say you've been around for years. It's all right.
Yeah, I dare say that. I've been around forever. I remember when dinosaurs were electrically powered, but we'll move on. Um, you, 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 you see, you, you see you see changes, and they're often not necessarily popular. Sometimes they're big, and sometimes they're unpopular, and they can be difficult to get your head around. But one thing I think I've always taken is that um, how do I put it? The commercial world, that is, the businesses, the organizations, get on and if things need to happen, still find a way to make it happen. They just react to those changes. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying it doesn't cause problems, and sometimes it might hit confidence in a sector or investment for a little while, or it might cause price shifts or whatever. But ultimately, it's looked at and things are done. And I see the GHG changes, and I kind of agree, and I think there'll be different impacts in different parts of the world, very much. But I kind of see that renewables are not going away, and that sort of drive to do these things and decarbonize is not going away. It's just people are needing to find different ways of doing it and new ways of doing it and new ways of making it work. So, there's a lot going on geopolitically and with AI and demand and all sorts of changes. I think now more than ever, people are sort of trying to work their way through that, get the right information and advice and thought. So I guess that's what makes days like that really valuable, because they can hear not only experts, but they can hear and connect with peers.
Yeah, 100%, man. And since you mentioned dinosaurs, I believe it's Malcolm from Jurassic Park that says life finds a way, which is essentially what you're saying, right? Like this business life finds a way. There's going to be a way forward. Um, Even if the strictest version of the proposed changes came out from the GHG, renewables don't just disappear. It gets significantly harder. Um, Being a voluntary market, maybe GHG just gets used less, right? But people are still going to need speed to power. Renewables are still going to be one of the ways to get that power.
Yeah.
Um, I think a lot of people have used this term in recent months or years of like it's an all of the above approach is sort of what people are seeing when it comes to power, and I don't think we need to lose sight of that. Like I would love to see 100% renewables, and the reality is the demand won't let us only get there today, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, business finds a way. Challenges come, new regulations get put in place, new tariffs, new whatever, and business will find a way. Like there'll still be a way to get things done and move things forward. It just might shift who's participating and how they're participating.
Yeah, I did not expect to get a quote from Jurassic Park.
Oh, well, you should
On
expect the unexpected, Russ.
I will do. I'm now desperately trying to think of a decent film quote to use, but literally, I can only think of something from either Monty Python and the Holy Grail or the Terminator. Right now, I don't think either of those are appropriate. So,
oh man, I would disagree. I think Monty Python is always appropriate. So,
yeah, okay. So maybe in the comments, someone can suggest a Monty Python quote that is relevant somehow to this podcast.
Perfect.
But
Love it.
yeah, it's good. It's good. I think that because I think there were a few people, obviously from Zeigo, who came because Kenny, I think, mentioned he was there, and Rain had come along.
Yeah.
Now it's funny. I know what Rain's favourite part of the conference was because he posted about it, and it was about an awesome pastry that he had
Yes.
downstairs in the cafe, and she put a picture on that. That was really good. What would you say that your best part of that those couple of days was for you? What was the most interesting bit?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's hard to pick one. Like we started the conference off with a renewable energy boot camp that was I think super fun, and it was more entry level and more basic, but there's good engagement from people at tables. There's good discussion, and that I think is sort of the point of this stuff is to collaborate, to learn from each other, to get some ideas, and then go do stuff with those ideas, right? Like go and act, go and make change, go and make impact. And I think seeing those discussions happening in a way that it's like, oh, this is indicative of impact that's coming. I love that stuff and getting to be a part of it. That's super fun. And then, man, the marketing team crushed this with just a cool venue on day 2. There's just like a lot of fun with just like rooftop hangout at the end with some live music. So very like Nashville vibes, but great band, great music, beautiful weather. Like couldn't have asked for a nicer day. And just sitting and chatting with different people from different companies about what they learned and what they're excited about. And I think it's easy to get caught up in the like, oh, this proposed change, that introduced tariff, the tax credits going away, like, woe is me, maybe, or this is going to be hard. But seeing and hearing from people the excitement about stuff they've learned and stuff they're going to go home and work on, it's just super fun, man. It's encouraging and great to be a part of. And that happened in a lot of different places in a lot of different ways. And so it's hard to say like this one session or this one pastry. I should have joined Rain for a pastry. Maybe it would have been more clear. But anyway, no, love the conversations, excitement, and talking to people, in particular at that dinner on the rooftop about hey what they're gonna go home and do. I love that. It was just super energizing and fun for me.
I love that as a favorite. And people who know me know I never deny a pastry, but I actually, like you, when you go to an event and you talk to people and you find out what it is that's sometimes what's on their mind, what's on their plate, then that's really interesting. Well, these are my challenges. But like you say, sometimes you find out from them, what are you going to go back and do? What have you learned? And those kind of events, thinking back to the ones I've done myself. I wasn't in Nashville, but the other ones I've done myself. And you know what I mean? You do come back, and you think that was really interesting. And I've got and then you've got all these ideas and all these things you've scribbled down, and you think, oh my goodness, I've got like 15 things that I feel like I want to go at now.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to actually, to kind of have those conversations and get really close to, which is nice, I guess for us both as well, because we outside those events we get to talk to network members on a regular basis and hopefully hear what they're saying as well, which is just as interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, love it.
Yeah. Okay. I've taken up loads of your time. I know you've got a lot on. Probably lots to catch up with, and 15 or 20 things to do after perspective. So, Drew,
Exactly.
thank you for taking the time and getting out of your day and having a chat.
Yeah, Russ, of course, man. Always a pleasure. Great chatting with you, and thanks for your time too. And
Okay.
I look forward to seeing and hearing some of these Monty Python quotes coming through.
Yeah, me too, and we'll see what comes through. I feel like I want to shout "run away," but it's the end of the recording, so I wouldn't. Thanks, Drew.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Cheers.